It was them telling me, which became it's like a self-realization that I became what they were telling me. If somebody else's mom says like, oh, don't hang out with that kid's a bad influence, guess what? I'm going to keep becoming that bad influence. If someone keeps telling me, hey, you know what, just drop out, keep going, that's exactly what I'm doing, and that's what I did. It's all these things. So when they show you these things, it's not for you to be like, oh my God, there's that guy that looks bald and he's got tattooed. Walk the other way. Come on, Billy. No, that's not what you do. You don't turn away from these people. These if you make them into monsters, they'll be monsters. Most of the gang members out in the community, they're not out here trying to get average Joe and Keith down the street. That's not what they're out. They're out trying to become a family because they don't have that at home. And they need that support somewhere else. When you see those graffiti, when you see those gunshots, a lot of those are the kids. Those are never the OGs. The OGs are not out there tagging up. Those are kids trying to belong to something else. When I tagged up, I wasn't up and big. I was just a kid, because that's what the kids do. When you start doing the higher crimes, selling the drugs, that's what the OGs are doing. That's what the real gangsters does, or the ones that sometimes are the ones that you really gotta be careful. Not the ones out on the streets, not the kid having his pants all the way down. Yeah, they may look ridiculous, but they're not really the issue. They just stole maybe a pack of cigarettes or a couple, something gummies at the store. That's not what they're out for. Once you show them that support, you show them that they are part of the community. They are part of the community, of the city. They belong. That you give them a place. That's when you'll be able to support them. You can tell them, hey, not just because you're tall and black. Hey, you look like you play basketball. No, hey, you look like a lawyer. You look like something else. Stop putting it into these boxes. They'll tell me certain things. Hey, well, you look like hey, you're gonna work construction. You're gonna work this, or you work in auto, or you're gonna become a no. Look, you know what? I'm gonna go to medical school. I'm gonna do something else. So that's how you support these kids. You break these little boxes. You break these barriers. You don't make them out to monsters. You don't say walk across the street because that person looks like that. Stop going off looks. When I go somewhere, a lot of people assume certain things about me, and I have to break down those barriers for them and let them know, hey, guess what? No, I'm not this and this and that. Even though you might assume it, I'm not. I can shake your hand. I can, have coffee with you. I can sit down just like anybody else. But a lot of these teachers, a lot of these parents, a lot of these community members, they don't do that. Hey, that's Oscar down the street. Don't hang out with him because I saw him hanging out with bad people. No, invite him to your house. Show him what a family looks like. Feed him. Make him feel like he's part of the community. So that's how you make these kids feel like they're actually welcome, like they're somebody, like their life matters, like they matter. Because otherwise, if you're trying to say, well, how can I support them? Or, hey, can you show me some more things so I can just, scare everybody? No, it's not about scaring them. It's not about trying to, break up these kids and tell them, hey, that's a throwaway kid. No, these people matter. These people have a life. These people have issues. These people have a history behind them. So that's the way that, for me, if I could go back and there was people that could help me, it would be, instead of my counselors or my teachers telling me that I was just a gang member and that I look like a pimp and I look like all these other things, it was them breaking those barriers and telling me, hey, you look like this, hey, you look like that. I'll provide food for you. Hey, you need something? Like that. That's what support looks like. Even for the worst kid that, looks like he's a gangster, he's homely or whatever. So provide that love, provide that support that they might not be getting at their house. Because sometimes that's all the difference it makes. Just even looking at them, smiling at them, even though they may look scary to you, just smile at them. That could change the person's day.
That's true.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question about your pay thing.
Yes.
Who identifies the youth that are selected for that, and how successful is that?
Well, like we said, we went through and just because it was a pilot program just on one campus, we were
Right.
able to identify what we saw as high risk just because of other factors, right? And we had 4 people in it. One is no longer within that 10 to 14 or prevention, but being supported in high school.
So they
Various
embraced
except-
that. I mean,
Yes.
they accepted that they were high risk.
No, right? They don't have to necessarily accept. The way it goes, I would love for the parents to call me and say, yes, my kid's in crisis, right? Please help me, right? But the partnership that we had with Explorer is Explorer identified people that they wanted in their Strengthening Families program, right? And then we got together and reached out and said, yeah, they may be at high risk for, if we don't give them more support. Strengthening Families is only 7 weeks, right? And it's a great program, but it's just a start for some of these kids, right? So we wrap them around more services and make sure that they feel completely supported. But they don't have to talk to me, right? They don't have to know that it's that way because they're at high risk for gang activity. It could be high risk for youth violence. It could be high risk for being trafficked as a young girl, right? It's just high risk behavior that puts our youth in a pathway that goes completely away from where we want them to be, right? Does that answer your question? Hopefully, no?
And you do this whole presentation in other languages as well, like in Spanish and Vietnamese?
I can have somebody do it in Spanish, but I do have community leaders that are that I can call on. We have done this one and the gang presentation at Hand in Hand on Casino Road several times in Spanish,
Great.
right? But if someone from the community says, hey, I need it in Russian, then my job, part of the 42 hours a week, is to find a way to make that happen because the community has asked me for something, right? So if we're asking that it has to be somewhere else, then I will try and find a way to make it happen. Yes, sir.
I got two questions.
Okay.
One is about kids, one is about adults.
Okay.
First one is, psychiatrists have a book, DSM-5. I read the DSM-3 one, it's many years ago. The 2/3 of the book is all about children learning disabilities.
Okay.
How much are you seeing in these gang members, because you can grow out of those disabilities to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you seeing of learning disabilities because gang members, they started that middle school era, and whether they do well in school or they don't do well in school can be a variable in whether they get into gang life. Do you see that being a factor here in Everett, or is that not a factor?
I don't know if it is a factor. That is not my lane. When we get that support group, I will have a psychologist that the school represents, and they deal with that aspect of it. I will, if the parent comes to me and says, hey, I believe my kid has a learning disability, then I will make sure that the school's aware of that if they're not, right? But I don't try to get into, I try and support them in what they need. And if we find out that there is a learning disability through whatever means the school is doing or the partnerships that we have with the other organizations that are providing services, then I will make sure, if I can assist, to reach out and get those services. But I don't get into the data of who is and who's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Okay.
Perfect answer. Second question,
Mhm.
adults, not kids, adult gang members. I'm looking here at the jail bookings for March and April for Snohomish County. And by the three major gangs we have are Crips, Bloods, and the big one is the Sueños.
Okay.
During these 2 months, we had 65 inmates booked in. From my sources inside the jail, half of them were illegal immigrants. We didn't deport them. We didn't call. Border Patrol has jurisdiction from the border to Gasworks Park in Seattle. Our sheriff and jail didn't contact any of those agencies. Those people were released back in the community, whether they were bailed out or they went through the judicial process.
Mm-hmm.
If they were deported, would that help you guys or not help you guys?
I don't know if I can answer if it would help or not help, right? My job is to make sure that the influence isn't there, right? You also have to take that there's completely different from a criminal street gang member and then someone that says that they're in a gang when they get into jail, right?
Yeah.
Understand
totally
that the university or the professional gang member is in state prison, right? So
Right.
there are a lot of people that may say, I'm in a gang for a sense of protection once they get into there, right? So we don't keep the same kind of stats, and stats get muddled because of that, right? Just because they go in and say that they're a Sureño doesn't mean that they're an active member with Sureño. That may be a protection, what they feel they need to do to survive. But whether or not it's better or not if they weren't in the community, I don't look into that. I look in if someone in the community that we have right now needs support, just like Sarge says, we will have that heart-to-heart conversation with anybody, whether you're in cuffs or whether you're 12 years old and hanging out with somebody that we just put in cuffs. We'll have that heart-to-heart conversation because I believe that everybody can be a productive member of our community. So,
I agree with you. Thank you for the answer.
any other questions or anything?
Okay, leave us with this.
Yes.
What can I, as a community member, do?
So,
Aren't you glad I asked? Yeah.
I am, right? So the city went full bore when they went with this last year, right? They established a 501c3, right? The Youth Outreach Fund, our pay program, if a kid does his or her individual action plan, comes back to me with their trusted adult, yep, I hit such, such, I'd love to go get some new Nikes and I'm getting ready to play football. I'd like to have some nice workout gear. I can give them some funds through our partners that have given us $3,000 last year in gift cards, give them so they can go do that, right? So they're not getting talked into holding something for somebody just because they need shoes or things like that, right? So the community business leaders, right? Community leaders can go on the city website, everettwa.gov/youth, and click on donate. It'll take you to the tax deductible form where you can actually donate to that, right? Also, if you can't do financial donations or financial support, calling local school, calling Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, volunteering, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, just get out and be involved in your community. Find out what your community youth is doing, right? In my specific community, I'm athletic director for a school, right, outside of work, right? I'm trying to make sure that the young girls in this area have basketball programs, right? So they're not just believe that only boys play basketball in middle school, things like that. Those are things that I choose to do on my time off. But if you need any suggestion or a community leader needs anything, give me a call and we'll work, we'll find out what your talents are. If you know how to play piano, well, I've got a music program. They love when music programs come to Boys and Girls Club or come to schools and hold classes, right? What your talent is what you can provide, right? That's how you can support. Yes?
So what can you do as a community? Most all communities in Everett have community meetings once a month. And guest speakers can come to community meetings. So we always have a police officer at a community meeting that you can sound these things off of. If you don't know where your community meeting is being held or what time, go to the website and go to Office of Neighborhoods for the City of Everett. And they'll tell you where your community is and where you can go. These are the things to be brought up because there's a police officer, unless there's a call that they're on, who will be there. Also, perhaps we could invite one of you guys over to be a guest speaker at one of these meetings sometime.
Sure.
So get involved in your community. Let people know. Find out what other people are saying. Oh yeah, I've had the same problem too. What do we do? What do we do as a community? Come together as a community.
And the big thing's awareness. Like if I could answer your question, what do you take back, right? And then, going back to those slides of those pictures that we showed you, we're not showing those to create stigmas. We're not showing you those to, hey, look at what that dude's wearing. I'm across the street. It's so you can identify it, and so you can let somebody know. So you can let Tony know, and Tony can get involved, right? And try to work his education and prevention back. That's what that's for.
Any other questions or anything? The chief would love to make some closing remarks, but I will be here after if there's any questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, so just in closing, I wanted to just say a couple things, and we've touched on a lot of information tonight, but the goal for tonight, right, was for us to come and share information with the community and to raise awareness just in general, not only of some of the information that you've seen up here on the screen tonight, but also about what we're doing as a city and as a police department and as a community. I will tell you this, and hopefully those of you that are here tonight really understand this, that what you've heard tonight from these officers and their personal stories and the community members that we have that are part of our team, what's going on here in Everett is unique. These partnerships, these efforts, this is not occurring in every city in the state or the country. This is unique and this is rare, and it does take a community, okay? And so what I really want to leave all of you with is this, and that is that moving forward, to understand that this is not just a police issue. And so many of the things that we're encountering as law enforcement today and as a community, people look to the police, they call 911 right away, whatever it is. And your kid won't get out of bed, we get those calls. I mean, it's crazy what happens. And so understanding that this is a community issue, it's not just a law enforcement issue. These programs, Pivot and Pay, we should not be doing these programs. We should not be the ones running them. There should be other entities in our community that are running these programs, and we are there to support them. But guess what? We were going to do something. We were not going to sit by and do nothing. And so we created these programs. We're still looking today for organizations in our community to take these over from us, and we will be part of it. We will be a partner, so that if you know as community members, organizations out there, or entities out there that might be interested in partnering with us to help support these programs and maybe take the lead on it, that is something that we would be very interested in. But again, moving forward, I'm really proud of the work that's being done in this community by our community members, by our officers. It is remarkable. The results that we're seeing are very, very impressive so far. And again, we still have work to do, and we're not gonna let up. But I want to thank every one of you for being here and taking a couple hours out of your busy schedules to be here and become more informed. And Linda, to your point, I think it's great. We do need to get the information out in any ways we can get it out with our city communications team and our police department to help provide you the information to share. I think we should be looking at doing that, because the more we can just inform our community, raise awareness, and even raise awareness of what we're doing. And that's really important, so that our community knows that we're doing something, okay? And it's not just about arresting people. It's really about preventing all of this from occurring in the first place to the extent we can. So thank you all for being here tonight, and I know that some of our officers are going to be hanging around for a few minutes to answer any questions if you guys have any, and I hope you all have a good night, and thanks again.